Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
When I first started thinking about this chapel talk, I wasn't sure what I wanted to speak about, but I knew I wanted something meaningful and lighthearted. The perfect opportunity arose over spring break when I came across my old report cards and teacher comments from when I was young. At first, it was just a funny trip down memory lane, but then I noticed one comment that stood out. Next to classroom behavior, my kindergarten teacher had written that I needed to work on my, quote, impulse control. At first, I was baffled. I couldn't imagine what I had done to deserve that, especially in kindergarten. So I laughed it off and assumed that it was just a one-time thing. But as I kept reading through my report cards from later years, I saw the same comment repeatedly. Different teachers, different grades, but the same message. I talked too much, reacted too quickly, and struggled to control my emotions. Eventually, I had to admit that there might be some truth in what they were saying. That realization made me reflect on something that has been a constant in my life: my emotional intensity. Whether it was joy, excitement, frustration, or anger, I've always felt things very strongly. When I was happy, I was really happy. When I was excited, everyone knew it. And when I was frustrated, that intensity came out just as strongly. At times, that felt like a strength. It made me passionate and helped me care deeply about the people and things in my life. But it also led to impulsive reactions. But in reality, the issue wasn't my personality. The real issue was that I didn't know how to respond when things were out of my control. I wanted situations to go exactly as I had planned, and when they didn't, I reacted impulsively and quickly. To help me grow from that, my dad, one of the calmest people I know, taught me something very important. Everyone gets angry, but the moment you let anger control you, you lose. He taught me that instead of focusing on what I couldn't control, I needed to focus on what I could control, my response. That lesson stayed with me, and I was tested on it again this past December when I was rejected from my dream school, the University of Notre Dame. If I'm being honest, my first reaction wasn't calm or accepting. I felt frustrated, disappointed, and angry. Something I had worked so hard for didn't turn out the way that I wanted. And underneath all that was that familiar feeling from all those years ago, losing control. I couldn't change the decision or force the outcome I wanted. That's what made it so difficult. But in that moment, I remembered when my dad had taught me I had a choice. I could hold on to that frustration and let it affect how I moved forward, or I could let it go. Not by pretending it didn't matter, but by accepting what had happened and choosing not to be controlled by it. It was difficult to accept, as things often are when you really care about them, but it was necessary. Because if we tie our peace to outcomes we can't control, we'll always feel unsettled. That's why learning to let go matters. There's a song that I like that reminds me of this. It's called "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" by Otis Redding. In it, he describes sitting on a dock, watching the tide go in and out. The image struck with me because it reflects life. Life is like a tide. Things come and go, plans change, and opportunities appear and disappear. And no matter how much we want to, we can't control it all. So we're faced with a choice: fight the waves or let them pass. For a long time, my instinct was to fight them impulsively and resist anything that didn't go the way I planned. But trying to fight everything only leaves you overwhelmed. What I had to learn was how to sit on the dock, to pause, step back, and let things pass instead of reacting immediately. I'm not perfect at this. I still get frustrated. But now when I do, I try to catch myself. And when I do, I think of a verse my father put up in our house. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." This verse reminds me that I don't have control of everything, even when plans don't go the way I planned. But there is still a greater plan at work, even if I don't know what it is. The truth is, there are so many things in life we cannot control. But there is one thing we can always control: how we respond. We can choose to react immediately, or we can pause. We can choose to hold on to frustration, or we can let it go. We can choose to try and control everything, or we can just trust in God. And when I learned to master that, we don't just take control of our reactions. We take control of who we become. Thank you.